So what is a 2023 movie not a 2023 movie? The answer, when it is Transmutators, because this is actually a re-edit of a 2007 movie called RESIKLO, and is directed and written by Mark A. Reyes. Yeah, so this has been re-edited from a longer movie that came out when the original Transformers movie came out, to be a kind of a new dubbed version of this Filipino movie coming out to, contest with the Beast Wars movie in 2023. You may be thinking, aha, this must be the latest Asylum Mockbuster. They've done it before with Transformers, with the old Transmorphers film, but no, this is actually a movie from the Philippines. Now, the Philippines has a long and sordid history of kind of making genre B-movies, in particular kind of jungle action flicks, but they do tend to kind of branch out here and there. And this is a sort of science fiction movie which clearly has many influences from the likes of Transformers, obviously, but also Aliens, Terminator, and basically any type of kind of mainstream science fiction movie that's come out of Hollywood. Now, when I looked at IMDb about this movie, it has an incredibly low score. It's rated 1.7, I think, when I was looking at this movie, and that is really low, even for the aforementioned Asylum movies. I'm thinking, surely it can't be that bad? Well, we'll discuss. But let me tell you about the plot. So it focuses on some point on the remnants of humanity in a kind of a post-apocalyptic setting. Now, we're not really sure what exactly has happened with this kind of particular kind of future. We only know that there is this kind of alien race that has seemingly invaded Earth. But there is also another faction called the mutants, which are also against humanity. They basically both give threats to our bunch of kind of remaining kind of human survivors, and it focuses on this particular colony called Paradise, this colony that is under attack. But they have this kind of hero guy who is the kind of the main force defending this particular kind of outcropping of humans. And then we get betrayals, we get attacks, we get kind of like mech fights. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. Now, why has it got a 1.7 on IMDb? We'll come to that. We will come to that. We will come to the negatives in just a minute. But, can we talk about the positives? Now, this movie isn't very good. Don't let me get you any under illusion here. But how I approach a review is I'm looking at the individual elements that make up a film. And I have to be honest with you, I do feel there are elements here that work to a degree. What are those elements? Okay, so this movie has a younger tone. It is very similar to Power Rangers. Now, despite clearly being released and marketed to kind of like coincide with the new Transformers movie, and clearly been influenced by the likes of Aliens and Terminator in the actual film itself, there's shots here that are very reminiscent of both of those movies and movie franchises. The movie plays more like a Power Rangers kind of episode. It is very kind of like light, goofy, silly, with no real kind of graphic kind of violence, especially. I mean, it's a little bit more adult than maybe Power Rangers, because there are human characters that get killed in this movie, and you have a little bit of blood coming out of the mouth, but it's very mild. But the tone of this movie is very kind of light. Light science fiction. There are child characters in this movie. Nothing is too kind of complicated in regards to plot elements. So if you are a discerning hard science fiction fan, then you probably aren't going to like this movie. But if you are you have kids, or you are a younger person, or you just like that kind of more easy, basic kind of storytelling, you might find some entertainment here. This movie, I would say, to kind of go hand in hand with that, if you compare this to an Asylum movie is a lot of talking in rooms to kind of pad out the running time, to get away from any kind of expensive shots. Now, the one thing you will notice with this movie is it does look like it has a better production. I'm not going to say a good production value, but there is more scope here in regards to what you are seeing on the screen. Now, a lot of this is gone green screen, and it doesn't look very good, but there are some, like, plenty of kind of outside locations. There's a large cast. You know, we have a lot of kind of extras on set. We have various different kind of, like, post-apocalyptic kind of, like, sets and, you know, locations and kind of, like, you know, bits of kind of machinery on set to kind of give it that kind of science fiction feel, vehicles and things like that. Now, yeah, it's kind of cheap and it does look like a kind of a Power Rangers style thing, but, you know, I would say visually speaking, there's a reasonable amount kind of going on. The bad guys are very kind of like boo hiss kind of bad guys, and the our good guys are very much kind of altruistic and kind of clean cut, apart from, you know, this traitor you inevitably get to kind of like pen out their own time. But yeah, so there's a reasonable amount on screen, and it's not afraid to have VFX shots as well. Mainly kind of sort of CGI when you come into this kind of like mechs and things like that. But there are practical suits of makeup and these kind of like aliens or warrior type things that again will remind you of the Power Rangers. But I would say there is, you know, for young children, you could pop this on and there's lots of kind of stuff kind of going on, you know, that I think will keep kids entertained who want to watch, you know, that type of thing. Now, when I was a kid, I kind of quite enjoyed like the Ator series of fantasy films, and I liked Ultraman and stuff like that. I used to like the old Godzilla things, and I know they have their fans, but you know, I just liked them for what they were. I wasn't kind of like watching them with rose-tinted glasses. I kind of just liked the kind of the spectacle of it all. And there was an argument, I would say, to have for this as well in that kind of range. Now, the movie is about an hour and a half long. It doesn't kind of outstay its welcome, and it's a fairly kind of like forward momentum in regards to the plot. In fact, that's going to come up again with my negatives. But yeah, it kind of like it's quite quick in regards to plot pacing. There's action is kind of more or less kind of straight away. It doesn't kind of slow down too much with kind of like boring character work or anything like that. So yeah, so if you just want some kind of like visceral but cheesy fun kind of like science fiction entertainment, then you know you could do worse than this, I would say. Yeah, apparently the budget was around $1 million, but you know it kind of looks low budget still. Now the VFX, the CGI isn't good, but we do have to remember that obviously it is actually a 2007 movie being repackaged for 2023. But let's just kind of be real here. There's a reason why this movie is so low rated. I mean, it's, if you want any type of depth, interesting kind of narrative, characters, you ain't gonna get it in this film. I mean, the movie has no real setup. I mean, you're more or less thrown into this world, and you know, we just go, the humans, they're the good guys, the mutants, they're the bad guys, as well as these kind of aliens. That's it, that's all you get. Don't know the circumstances really. I mean, you can kind of pick bits up, but we, you know, our main hero guy, but yeah, we don't really know anything about him. There's not really any sort of character development at all, not with any other characters, our characters are treated so dumb. I mean, again, this is why I say younger kids might like this. For example, we have you know, our bad guy mutants, and I feel that they've kind of gone with these mutants, which is basically just, you know, regular humans but with kind of green eyes or whatever. And then we have this kind of traitor guy who's from this human camp, goes, I'll give up our heroes from this camp as long as you, the bad guy, promise not to attack our camp. And he goes, yeah, sure, cool, here's all the information you need. I mean, that's it. It's just like, that's just as kind of complex as the plot is. That is like, yeah, we'll just tell the mutants have just said they won't attack, so I'll just totally believe it. So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the complexity of the character development in this movie. So yeah, there's no character development, there's no real kind of interesting or gripping narrative. I mean, it does a couple of things. It introduces like a psychic girl who's blind and can sort of see attacks and things, but there's not a lot done with it really. But I mean, the version I saw, I will say, was dubbed, and it's possibly some of the worst dubbing in regards to its acting that I've ever seen. I mean, it is atrocious. So maybe the subbed version would be better, but it's not going to be very good for kids, I wouldn't imagine. But the dubbing on it is atrocious. I mean, it's atrocious in regards to it's badly dubbed, but also the performances of the voice actors is terrible. The dialogue is so bad. I mean, it is so bad. I mean, if you were to ask a couple of 5-year-olds to write, you know, think of a scene about science fiction and have a conversation, you're a bad guy, you're a good guy, what would you say to each other? That's the sort of dialogue that you can expect. It's terrible. The VFX, again, I'm going to refer to Power Rangers here as a kind of a comparison. Will remind you of Power Rangers, and even when we kind of get the more, it's maybe slightly darker than Power Rangers. But there are some sort of interesting designs, I will say, but they're kind of fairly cheaply rendered when we see the CGI stuff, and the kind of the practical stuff looks kind of very rubbery. The action sequences are, I'm being, you know, somewhat kind of like kind when they say they're of a mixed quality. There's some I think have the odd moments of being entertaining, but for the most part it's silly, cheesy fun with our heroes just standing out in the open, gunning down the kind of like the troops without ever really kind of sustaining any kind of damage, things like that. It's a very basic film. So, you know, I mean, the question is maybe who is it made for? If it's made for younger children or, you know, families, then, like, you know, maybe it's kind of, you have to give it a little bit of leeway. But if you, like I said, if you're an adult viewer, I can't imagine you'd find it particularly gripping. How to rate this? I don't think it's as bad as a 1.7, if I'm honest, but it isn't a good movie. So I'll give it the big old score of 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.